Did you ever hear the paradox of the ship of Theseus? I thought not. It's not a concept a Darth Plagueis meme would tell you. Proposed as a thought experiment in ancient Greece by the philosopher Plutarch, it brings up the idea of the ship belonging to King Theseus of Athens. The thought experiment asks that if the ship's wood decays over time and is continuously replaced with new pieces, is it still the same ship? If over time every single part is removed and replaced with a new one, has its identity changed? Does merely belonging to Theseus cause it to retain its identity, or has it become something else? It's one of the oldest philosophical concepts and has been discussed by the likes of Plato, Aristotle, and many more. But how can modern-day philosophers improve upon this conundrum to ask even deeper questions? Well, there is one follow-up question I know that would certainly put the likes of Plato and Aristotle in their place. What if it was an anime girl?
Sadness covers me like a blanket. Tuck me in, let me die.
And Dumettes, I'm your host Didi, and today we're going to be talking about my all-time favorite manga series, Houseki no Kuni, otherwise known as Land of the Lustrous in the West. If this is your first time hearing of the series, I'm going to give some reasons as to why this should be high up on your list of things to check out, and a bit of an introduction to the story as a whole. Before we begin, I'd just like to ask that if you're new to this channel or you're interested in this content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you're willing to. I keep track of YouTube analytics to know what people like seeing on this channel, and that's the best way for me to recognize what people enjoy watching. And to all of you currently subscribed, I wanted to extend my highest appreciation and gratitude. I'm stunned that we're about to reach 800 subscribers, and I'm deeply thankful for all of your support to this growing channel. And with that said, let's dive right in. Now, as this is an introduction to the series, I won't be giving away any major plot spoilers, but we will be discussing some general themes of the series and concepts it brings up to hopefully encourage you to check it out on your own if you haven't already, especially if you're looking for something new to fill that void after falling out with some other series. Written by Haruko Ichikawa and beginning monthly publication in 2012, Land of the Lustrous is set in a distant future without humanity. It's about an island inhabited by living humanoid gemstones such as amethyst, jade, euclase, and so on. These gems retain their hardness levels from the Mohs scale, and while gems such as diamond are among the strongest, not everyone is as lucky, and some can break quite easily. If they break apart, they are able to be put back together, but their world isn't exactly free from danger. Mysterious beings from the moon, known as the Lunarians, will routinely journey to Earth to shatter the gems and bring them back to the moon, presumably to use their broken bodies for jewelry or other weapons to shatter more gems. This brings us to the hero of our story, Phosphophyllite, otherwise known as Phos. A young gem with a hardness of 3.5 on the Mohs scale, Phos is extremely weak and isn't exactly fit for combat, but that's what they want to do. They want to protect their sensei, the patriarch of the island. Now, that may sound like something akin to Steven Universe, but the truth of the matter is Land of the Lustrous is far more bleak, and I'd argue has a lot more in common thematically with the likes of Goodnight Poon Poon, focusing the story on our hero over a vast amount of time, showing their drastic life changes over a prolonged period. In addition to the mysteries of the world and uncovering the secrets of the Lunarians, it's a story about growing up, and a story about dealing with personal trauma in a way you can't simply fight off like a shonen villain. In Phos, this is represented by their desire to reject themselves and change who they are in order to find a role in their society. You see, when it comes to the Lustrous, these humanoid gemstones, their memories are stored throughout their bodies, and when one loses a part of their body, it can be seen as literally and metaphorically losing a part of who you are, as you could potentially lose memories of others as well as your own experiences if that happens. When introduced to Phos, we see an arrogant child, eager to fit into the world but not really taken seriously by others.
どうにかあの新書を手なずけて部下にする。そして素早く博物誌の仕事を終わらせ、かつ大発見をし、みんなに称賛され、きっと戦闘センスもすごいとなる。これよ、これだわ！ベリト君!
As tragedies occur throughout the story, Phos continually loses parts of themselves, and as a result, they lose that naivety of childhood. Their personal trauma, as well as body modifications, force them to become something else entirely, and they do it in order to make up for their past weaknesses. It's a theme which I'm very sure is very relevant to people in today's age, and it's something that actually has had a profound influence on my own life and perceptions. This is where the thought experiment of the ship of Theseus starts to come into play in the story. If Phos has lost significant portions of their body and forced mental changes, are they still the same person? Is Phos merely growing up, or are they throwing away their old identity to become something new? Where's the line between self-improvement and rejecting yourself to assume a different identity?
いかんいかん、なん つバカな。
でも強くなれるよ。きっとうまくいくよ。
An example of this type of mindset in Phos is when they have an interaction with a different life form. Phos, being an ageless gemstone, is the youngest in their society at 300 years and is still considered childlike. This is among other life forms that live very slow lives, doing very little day to day, and many others are in the upper hundred if not thousands of years. And yet, when Phos encounters a life form that lives only to roughly 20 years, Phos is depressed at the idea that the other being likely accomplished way more in life than they ever did. This is despite the fact that these two beings would have vastly different standards to measure themselves by. And yet, Phos is only capable of seeing that they're not as good as someone else and feeling a need to change for that reason alone. It's honestly a rather harsh line of thought, something I know I'm guilty of and perhaps would be something that some of you may relate to as well. A lot of what he described so far in the video comes from the anime adaptation that came in 2017 from Studio Orange. If that name sounds familiar, you may have heard of them from the hit Netflix series Beastars and the recent series Godzilla Singular Point. The Land of the Lustrous anime is a very rare example of a beautifully done CGI series with fluid animation and breathtaking visuals. Don't worry, with this one you're not going to see animation anywhere near what Berserk 2016 was like. The anime so far is only one season, which covers about the first 30 chapters of the manga, whereas the manga is currently sitting at chapter 95 and at the moment is on hiatus. For an introduction to the series, I'd highly recommend starting off with the anime and then transitioning into the manga. The anime itself is only 12 episodes and is something that can be finished in a good binge watch, just to give you an idea if you think the series is for you. Now, I spent a lot of time talking about the anime to set up some context, so allow me to shift the focus back to the manga. While a lot of what I discussed would be spoilers for the anime, this really only sets the stage for the story in the manga. These themes I brought up are further expanded on in greater detail, especially with over 60 chapters that are yet to be adapted. When it comes to the manga, Ichikawa's artwork relies strongly on high contrast and some minimalistic panels with limited background detail to really give a feeling which I could only describe as beautifully melancholic. The strong and heavy use of black and white in the panel layout is excellent at drawing the eye's attention to the finer details. One page may seem completely minimalistic, where the next is incredibly finely detailed with haunting levels of line work. It's really one of those series that you can get extremely emotional over the most basic of pages within the context of the series. You can absolutely get lost staring at the pages and really feeling immersed in the world and the story. Ichikawa excels with the expressions of the characters, ranging from joyful and fun to utterly heartbreaking. The series itself may not be something that gets your blood pumping the same way a shonen series like Demon Slayer can get you feeling, but it's a heavy series to think on with a lot of emotional themes and ways to analyze it, especially if you're someone like me who likes to read these sorts of stories and apply it to your own life. One thing of note is it does have a lot of Buddhist influence to it, but if that's not something you're familiar with, that wouldn't stop you from being able to understand the story. If any of this has piqued your interest, Season 1 of Land of the Lustrous is available with Amazon Prime in the United States, and there are currently 10 English printed volumes of the manga as well, with Volume 11 coming out this August. All volumes are currently available right now for order on Amazon, or, you know, there's other ways to view the series.
Do what you want, cause a pirate is free. You are a pirate.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching. Like my Transformers video, I just wanted to do a brief introduction on this series because I'd like to start talking about it more on the channel. What are your thoughts? Would you be interested in checking out this series? If you've read the series already, what kind of tool would you use to break Cairngorm's kneecaps? Let me know in the comments below. I have a few other videos in the works right now. The next My Villain Academia installment focusing on Spinner, an analysis on Bondrewd from Made in Abyss, and the legacy of the cancelled Transformers line, Trans Tech. If any of those interest you, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so as to not miss out. Or if you have any other recommendations, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I can see you next time.